Have you ever felt like your mind is a prisoner, chained by thoughts, regrets, or habits that you just can't seem to break? You're not alone. Most of us carry invisible weights, grudges, worries, comparisons, that drain our energy and rob us of peace. But what if I told you there's a way to free your mind and reclaim control of your life? Welcome to this life-changing journey, inspired by the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. In this video, we'll explore the habits that enslave your mind and reveal how to break free from them. This isn't just about theory. This is about real, practical steps to transform your inner world and elevate your life. Imagine living a life where you're no longer held back by the past, no longer paralyzed by fear of the future, and no longer bound by the opinions of others. Sounds impossible? It's not. By the end of this video, you'll have the tools to liberate your mind and embrace true freedom. So take a deep breath, open your mind, and stay with me. You're just moments away from the breakthrough you've been waiting for. Are you ready to begin? Let's dive in. Clinging to past regrets. Have you ever felt the weight of a decision you can't undo? Perhaps it was something you said in anger, an opportunity you didn't take, or a relationship you let slip away. These regrets can feel like anchors, holding you back from the life you want to live. The mind becomes a relentless time machine, pulling you into the past, replaying those moments over and over, as if doing so could rewrite the story. But regret, as painful as it may seem, is not the enemy. It's how we cling to it that keeps us trapped. Regret is powerful because it's deeply tied to the illusion of control. You think, if only I had done this differently, everything would have turned out better. But the truth is, life is filled with variables you cannot control, and decisions are made based on what you knew in the moment. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This wisdom invites us to recognize that while the past is unchangeable, the way we think about it is entirely within our control. Picture a woman haunted by a career choice she made years ago. She turned down a promotion to stay close to family, and now she's convinced her life would be better if she had chosen differently. Each day, she revisits the moment of that decision, as if dissecting it could bring her peace. But in doing so, she overlooks the life she's built. Strong family ties, meaningful memories, and new opportunities that came her way because of that choice. Regret blinds her to these truths, creating a distorted narrative where the past looms larger than the present. This is the trap of regret. It keeps you locked in a loop, focusing on what you've lost rather than what you've gained. It whispers that the past defines you, that your mistakes diminish your worth. Yet Stoicism teaches us the opposite. Mistakes are not failures, they are lessons. Every misstep carries a seed of wisdom, waiting to grow if you choose to nurture it. That career choice, for instance, could teach the woman the value of balance or the courage to prioritize what matters most. Letting go of regret is not about dismissing what happened or pretending it didn't hurt. It's about acceptance. Acceptance of the fact that you, like everyone else, are imperfect. Acceptance that the past cannot be undone, but it can guide your future. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack for years, filled with rocks of regret. Each step becomes harder, each moment weighed down. Now imagine setting it down. The relief, the lightness. It's yours to claim the moment you decide to forgive yourself. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing your actions or ignoring the consequences. It means choosing to stop punishing yourself for what you cannot change. It's an act of self-compassion, a way to reclaim your energy and focus it on what truly matters, the present moment. What if, instead of replaying that mistake, you asked yourself, what did I learn from this? How can I use this experience to grow? By shifting your perspective, you transform regret from a burden into a tool for self-improvement. Now pause for a moment. Think about one regret you've been carrying. What would your life look like if you set it down? Imagine the peace, the clarity, the freedom to fully engage with the present. The past has shaped you, yes, but it doesn't define you. You hold the pen to your story, and every day is a blank page waiting to be written. As we move forward, consider this. While regret ties us to the past, worry binds us to the future. It's time to confront the fears that keep us from fully living in the now. Let's explore this next step together. Worrying about the future. The future often feels like an endless maze of unknowns, filled with both hope and fear. You might find yourself lying awake at night, your mind racing through countless what-ifs. What if you don't meet your goals? What if something bad happens to a loved one? What if you fail? This worry may seem like a form of preparation, but in reality, it drains your energy and steals your peace. Instead of moving forward, you feel stuck, paralyzed by the sheer weight of uncertainty. Why do we worry so much about the future? It stems from our desire to control what lies ahead. We believe that by anticipating every possible outcome, we can avoid pain and ensure success. But here's the truth: life is unpredictable. No amount of worrying can change that. Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present." This Stoic principle reminds us that the future is not something to fear, but something to face with calmness and clarity. Imagine a young professional striving to climb the corporate ladder. Each day, she obsesses over her next promotion, fearing that if she doesn't get it, her career will stall. She sacrifices her weekends, neglects her hobbies, and feels distant from her friends and family. Despite her efforts, she's consumed by anxiety about an outcome she cannot control. The irony is that this constant worry doesn't make her more prepared. It makes her less present, less effective, and less connected to the life she's living now. Worrying about the future is like trying to drive a car while staring only at the horizon. You miss the beauty of the road right in front of you. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control: our thoughts, actions, and attitudes. The future may hold challenges, but worrying about them today doesn't solve them. It only robs you of the energy and presence you need to tackle them when they arrive. How can you break free from this cycle of worry? It begins with grounding yourself in the present moment. Consider this. As you're listening to these words, nothing catastrophic is happening. The world around you continues as it always does, moment by moment. By practicing mindfulness, you can train your mind to focus on the here and now. Simple exercises like deep breathing, meditation, or even paying close attention to your daily tasks can help you shift your attention away from hypothetical scenarios and toward reality. Another powerful tool is gratitude. When you start each day by reflecting on what you already have, your health, your relationships, your accomplishments, you anchor yourself in abundance rather than fear. Gratitude reminds you that while the future is uncertain, the present is rich with opportunities to appreciate and grow. Worrying about the future also often stems from perfectionism, the belief that you must predict and control every outcome to avoid failure. But failure is not the enemy. It's a teacher. Instead of fearing it, embrace the idea that even missteps are part of the journey. Every challenge you face strengthens your ability to adapt and grow. So, the next time your mind spirals into worry, ask yourself, is this thought helping me, or is it holding me back? Recognize that while you cannot control the future, you can control how you respond to it. By choosing action over anxiety, gratitude over fear, and presence over projection, you free your mind to fully engage with the life unfolding before you. Now, let's continue to uncover the habits that keep us from peace. While worrying about the future ties us to what hasn't happened, holding on to grudges chains us to the past. Together, we'll explore how to let go of that burden. Holding on to grudges. Holding on to grudges is like carrying a heavy stone in your chest, one that grows heavier with every passing day. At first, you may not even notice its weight, but as time goes on, it begins to affect everything. You feel its burden in your steps, its strain in your breath, and its shadow over your thoughts. Grudges, no matter how justified they seem, rob us of peace and anchor us to pain that should have long been left behind. Why do we cling so tightly to resentment? Often, it's because we believe that by holding on to the memory of the hurt, we are somehow protecting ourselves from being hurt again. It feels like a defense mechanism, a shield against future betrayal, but in reality, it's not the person who wronged us who suffers from our grudge. It's us. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." This powerful insight reminds us that harboring anger only perpetuates the harm, making us prisoners of the very pain we wish to escape. Imagine a man wronged by a close friend. His trust was shattered, and the betrayal left a deep wound. For years, he replays the incident in his mind, revisiting every harsh word and cruel act. The more he thinks about it, the angrier he becomes. He believes that his resentment is justified, that it keeps him vigilant against further harm. But in truth, his grudge consumes him. It poisons his thoughts, affects his relationships, and prevents him from trusting anyone new. The friend who wronged him has moved on, but he remains shackled to a moment that no longer exists. Grudges have a way of sneaking into every corner of our lives. They make us view others with suspicion, close us off to new connections, and drain our emotional energy. Holding on to resentment can even have physical effects. Studies show that prolonged anger and stress can increase blood pressure, weaken the immune system, and contribute to mental health issues like anxiety and depression. In essence, grudges are self-inflicted wounds. How then do we break free from the cycle of resentment? The first step is acknowledging the grudge and understanding its true impact. Ask yourself, what am I holding on to and why? Is it anger, disappointment, or a sense of betrayal? When you identify the root of your grudge, you begin to see it for what it is, a burden that you no longer need to carry. Empathy is a powerful tool in letting go of grudges. While it doesn't mean excusing hurtful behavior, understanding the motives or pain behind someone else's actions can help diffuse resentment. People often act out of their own insecurities, fears, or ignorance. Seeing this doesn't make their actions right, but it can make them easier to forgive. Forgiveness at its core is not about absolving someone else. It's about freeing yourself. It's a decision to prioritize your peace over your pain, to let go of the stone that weighs you down. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or pretending the hurt didn't happen. It means choosing to no longer let that hurt define your present or dictate your future. Letting go of grudges is not an easy process, nor is it something that happens overnight. It requires courage, introspection, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable emotions. But with each step, you'll find the weight lightening, the path ahead clearer, and the possibilities for peace and happiness expanding. The next time you catch yourself clutching a grudge, remember this: the stone you carry does not protect you. It only burdens you. Choose to set it down. In doing so, you free not only your hands, but also your heart to embrace the life that lies ahead. Now, let us move to another habit that binds us: overthinking. While grudges tether us to the past, Overthinking traps us in endless loops of doubt and fear. Let's explore how to break free from this mental prison. Overthinking. Have you ever spent a sleepless night obsessing over a conversation, dissecting every word you said or didn't say? Perhaps you imagined all the ways the other person might have interpreted your words, and before you knew it, a single moment had spiraled into hours of mental torment. Overthinking is like trying to solve a riddle that has no answer. It consumes your energy, clouds your clarity, and leaves you exhausted without any resolution. At its core, overthinking often stems from a desire for control. We believe that by analyzing every detail, we can anticipate every outcome and avoid mistakes. But the truth is, overthinking traps us in a cycle of what-ifs, drawing us away from the present moment and into a maze of imaginary fears and regrets. This mental spiral distances us from life's simplicity and instead fills our minds with unnecessary complexities. Consider a young woman preparing for an important presentation at work. In the weeks leading up to it, she rehearses every possible scenario in her mind. What if her colleagues criticize her ideas? What if she forgets her key points? She spends hours crafting responses to hypothetical questions, revising her slides endlessly and replaying potential mishaps in her head. By the time the presentation day arrives, she's physically and emotionally drained. Despite her preparation, her performance suffers, not because she lacked competence, but because her energy was consumed by unproductive rumination. Overthinking masquerades as productivity, convincing us that more analysis equals better results. In truth, it often leads to paralysis, preventing us from taking decisive action. The more we dwell on what could go wrong, the more we delay taking the steps necessary to move forward. It's like standing on the edge of a pool, endlessly debating the temperature of the water instead of simply diving in. The mental toll of overthinking is immense. It saps your focus, reduces your ability to make decisions, and amplifies anxiety. Over time, it creates a loop of self-doubt, where every misstep reinforces the belief that you need to think even more carefully next time. This vicious cycle erodes confidence and leaves you stuck, unable to trust your instincts or enjoy the present. Breaking free from overthinking starts with awareness. Ask yourself, is this thought helping me, or is it holding me back? Often, the answer reveals that overthinking adds layers of unnecessary complexity to situations that are simpler than they seem. One practical way to counteract overthinking is through grounding techniques like mindfulness or deep breathing. These practices bring your focus back to the present moment, anchoring your mind in what you can control. For example, if you catch yourself replaying an event, pause and take a few slow, intentional breaths. Notice your surroundings, feel the weight of your body, and remind yourself that most worries are far less catastrophic than they appear in your mind. Another effective strategy is to set time limits for your thoughts. Allow yourself a fixed period, perhaps 10 or 15 minutes, to think about a problem, then commit to taking action or letting it go. Writing your thoughts down can also be liberating. When you see them on paper, they often lose their power, revealing themselves as repetitive or exaggerated fears. And if the burden of overthinking feels too heavy to bear alone, don't hesitate to share it with someone you trust. Talking to a friend, family member, or mentor can provide fresh perspectives and help you see solutions you might have overlooked. Sometimes just saying your thoughts out loud can be enough to break their grip. Ultimately, overthinking is a habit, and like any habit, it can be unlearned. The Stoics remind us that life is not meant to be lived in endless deliberation, but in meaningful action. When you catch yourself spiraling into over-analysis, remember that clarity comes through doing, not endless thinking. The antidote to overthinking is trust, Trust in your ability to handle challenges as they arise, and trust in the process of life itself. Take the plunge, embrace uncertainty, and let your actions speak louder than your doubts. By releasing the need for absolute control, you'll discover a freedom and peace that no amount of overthinking could ever provide. Seeking approval from others. Have you ever paused to wonder, are you living your life or merely the one others expect you to live? This single question, though simple, carries profound weight. Too often, we unknowingly trade our authenticity for the fleeting comfort of external validation. From social media likes to the approval of family, friends, or even strangers, the need to be validated shapes many of our decisions and ultimately our sense of self. Picture this. A young artist, deeply passionate about painting, is urged by her family to pursue a more practical career in finance. Despite excelling in her studies and securing a high-paying job, she feels an aching void every morning as she puts on her professional attire. Her walls are adorned with blank canvases, and her heart is weighed down by dreams deferred. She has everything society deems successful, but feels disconnected from her true self. This is the silent trap of seeking approval from others, a life that looks perfect on the outside, yet feels hollow within. The roots of this behavior are deeply ingrained. From childhood, we are conditioned to value praise and acceptance. It begins with parents applauding good grades, teachers rewarding conformity, and peers validating our choices. Over time, we associate approval with worthiness. But what happens when the applause fades? When the recognition we crave becomes elusive, or when our decisions no longer align with our inner desires? We find ourselves caught in an endless loop, chasing validation while losing sight of who we truly are. Living for others' approval not only stifles our authenticity, but also drains our mental and emotional resources. It leads to anxiety as we constantly second-guess our actions, fearing judgment or rejection. It breeds dissatisfaction as we pursue goals that resonate with others' expectations, but not with our own passions. The more we depend on external validation, the more we lose our ability to trust ourselves, to listen to that inner voice urging us toward fulfillment. The Stoics recognized this centuries ago. They taught that our worth should not be dictated by others' opinions, but by the values we hold and the actions we take. True contentment lies in aligning with our principles, not in pleasing the ever-changing whims of the crowd. This perspective is liberating. It frees us from the exhausting burden of trying to control how others perceive us. Breaking free from this habit begins with self-awareness. Ask yourself, why do I need this approval? What am I sacrificing to obtain it? Reflecting on these questions can illuminate the invisible strings pulling at your decisions. As you become aware of this pattern, you can begin to cut those strings and reclaim your autonomy. The next step is to cultivate self-acceptance. Embrace your unique journey, your strengths, and even your flaws. Understand that your worth is not conditional on others' praise, but inherent in who you are. This shift takes time, but with each step, you'll feel lighter, freer. Practicing mindfulness can also be transformative. By staying present, you learn to observe your thoughts without judgment. When you catch yourself worrying about others' opinions, pause. Ask yourself, does this truly matter? Am I making this choice for myself or for someone else's approval? Over time, this practice will help you make decisions rooted in authenticity rather than fear. Imagine if the young artist had silenced the voices urging her toward practicality and instead followed her heart. Picture her surrounded by vibrant canvases, immersed in her passion and living a life aligned with her values. This is not just a dream, it's a reality you can create for yourself by letting go of the need for approval. So, the next time you feel the pull of others' expectations, remember, your life is yours alone. Living authentically may not always win applause, but it will bring something far greater: peace, fulfillment, and the freedom to be unapologetically yourself. Comparing yourself to others. Have you ever felt like your life wasn't good enough after scrolling through social media? You see photos of friends vacationing in exotic places, posting their career milestones, or showcasing their picture-perfect families. For a moment, you might catch yourself wondering why your life doesn't look as exciting or successful. This feeling of inadequacy isn't uncommon, but it can quietly poison your peace of mind and your sense of self-worth. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Yet, when we compare ourselves to others, we surrender control of our thoughts to external circumstances. We stop appreciating what we have and instead focus on what we lack. This mindset traps us in a cycle of dissatisfaction, where someone else's achievements always seem brighter than our own. Imagine a runner in a marathon who keeps glancing at the competitors. Instead of focusing on their pace and breath, they waste energy trying to gauge how far ahead or behind others are. This distraction could cost them the race. Life, much like a marathon, requires us to run our own course. When we focus too much on others, we lose sight of our unique journey and the progress we've made. Consider Sarah, a marketing professional who's constantly comparing her career to that of her friend Alex. Alex recently landed a high-paying job at a tech company and often shares glamorous updates on LinkedIn. Sarah, on the other hand, works at a smaller firm and struggles to feel as accomplished. But what Sarah overlooks is the joy she gets from mentoring her team, the creative freedom she enjoys in her role, and the positive feedback she receives from clients. Her fixation on Alex's life blinds her to her own achievements and diminishes her happiness. Stoicism teaches us that comparison is a false measurement because everyone's life is shaped by unique circumstances, challenges, and opportunities. What works for one person may not work for another. Instead of comparing, focus on understanding your own values and goals. Are you living in alignment with what truly matters to you? This shift in perspective allows you to celebrate others' successes without feeling inadequate about your own. To break free from the habit of comparison, begin by practicing gratitude. Reflect daily on the things you're thankful for, whether it's your health, meaningful relationships, or even small victories at work. Gratitude helps you see the abundance in your life rather than dwelling on what you think is missing. Mindfulness is another powerful tool. When you catch yourself comparing, pause and remind yourself that what you're seeing is often a curated highlight reel, not the full story. And remember, growth is a personal process. Measuring yourself against others is like comparing apples to oranges. It's neither fair nor productive. Instead, ask yourself, am I better today than I was yesterday? When you focus on your own progress, you'll find greater fulfillment and peace. Let go of the need to measure your worth by someone else's achievements. As Marcus Aurelius taught, your happiness lies in the quality of your thoughts. Choose thoughts that uplift, inspire, and empower you. By freeing yourself from the trap of comparison, you can reclaim your focus and embrace the beauty of your unique path. Attachment to material possessions. Imagine walking into a luxurious apartment, the kind that looks like it was ripped straight from the pages of an interior design magazine. Everything gleams: marble countertops, high-end appliances, designer furniture. Yet its owner, let's call her Sarah, finds no joy in it. Every item in her home was meticulously chosen, not because she loved it, but because it would impress others, her colleagues, her family, even strangers on social media. Sarah's evenings were often spent not enjoying the space, but worrying about scratches on the floor, stains on the sofa, or whether her possessions were good enough compared to what her friends had. Sarah's story highlights the insidious nature of material attachment. Her beautiful home, instead of being a sanctuary, became a source of anxiety. She wasn't living for herself, but for the approval and validation of others, tying her self-worth to her possessions. Each new purchase brought temporary satisfaction, but ultimately deepened her dissatisfaction. The more she acquired, the emptier she felt. Stoic philosophy challenges us to question this cycle. Marcus Aurelius taught that our true value lies not in what we own, but in how we live. Material possessions, while useful, are inherently impermanent. They can be damaged, lost, or rendered obsolete. By clinging to them, we place our happiness at the mercy of external circumstances we cannot control. The Stoics encourage us to shift our focus inward, toward virtues like wisdom, courage, and gratitude. These qualities are unshakable, independent of material wealth, and form the foundation of a fulfilling life. Sarah, like many of us, needed to confront a simple but profound question. Are her possessions serving her, or is she serving them? Letting go of material attachment doesn't mean rejecting all possessions or embracing asceticism. Instead, it's about redefining our relationship with things. Sarah started small. She donated clothes she hadn't worn in years and stopped buying items just to keep up with trends. Gradually, she shifted her focus from acquiring objects to creating experiences, hosting intimate dinners with friends, exploring her city, and investing in hobbies she loved. Practices like gratitude can help us make this shift. When we actively appreciate what we already have, we begin to see the abundance in our lives rather than fixate on what's missing. Simplifying life also brings clarity. Decluttering a single closet can create a sense of freedom that ripples into other areas of our existence. Imagine your own life. What if you paused today and asked yourself, do I truly need this? Does it bring me lasting joy or align with my values? By examining these questions, we begin to unshackle ourselves from the relentless pursuit of material gain and open the door to deeper contentment. True freedom lies not in owning more, but in needing less. When we release our grip on material possessions, we reclaim the energy we once spent worrying about them. We make space for relationships, growth, and inner peace, the things that truly enrich our lives. Ask yourself, what would your life feel like if you focused less on what you own and more on who you are? Neglecting self-care. In a world that glorifies busyness and achievement, the subtle act of neglecting self-care often goes unnoticed until it manifests as burnout, illness, or an overwhelming sense of dissatisfaction. Imagine this scenario. Alex, a high-achieving professional, spends every waking hour dedicated to his career. Late nights at the office, early morning meetings, and weekends filled with emails have become his norm. At first, his efforts paid off with promotions and recognition. But as time passed, he began to feel perpetually tired, disconnected from his loved ones, and uninspired by the very work he once adored. Alex is not alone. Many of us fall into the trap of believing that self-care is a luxury, not a necessity. We convince ourselves that taking time for rest, reflection, or rejuvenation is indulgent or unproductive. Yet Stoic philosophy reminds us that caring for the mind, body, and soul is not a selfish act. It is a moral duty. Without nurturing ourselves, how can we fulfill our obligations to others or contribute meaningfully to the world around us? The Stoics emphasized balance and reason in all things, including self-care. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor responsible for leading his empire through war and plague, still found time to reflect and maintain his inner equilibrium. He understood that neglecting his own well-being would not make him a stronger or more effective leader. It would weaken him and, by extension, his ability to serve others. Alex's turning point came when his body forced him to stop. A sudden health scare, a minor but alarming heart issue, prompted him to re-evaluate his priorities. He realized that his relentless pursuit of external success had come at the cost of his physical and mental health. With the guidance of his doctor and a supportive friend, Alex began to make changes. He set boundaries at work, ensuring that evenings were reserved for rest and family. He incorporated mindfulness meditation into his mornings and started exercising regularly, not to meet a fitness goal, but to care for the body that carried him through life. Slowly, Alex rediscovered a sense of balance and fulfillment that he hadn't felt in years. Stoic philosophy provides practical wisdom for prioritizing self-care. First, it teaches us to recognize the interconnectedness of mind, body, and soul. Neglecting one inevitably affects the others. A well-rested mind thinks more clearly. A nourished body performs more efficiently. A contented soul approaches life with greater resilience and joy. Second, the Stoics remind us of the impermanence of life. If we run ourselves into the ground chasing accomplishments, we risk missing the simple, beautiful moments that make life worthwhile. Taking time to care for yourself doesn't mean abandoning ambition. It means sustaining it in a way that doesn't deplete your spirit. Finally, self-care is a form of discipline, not indulgence. It requires conscious effort to step back from the hustle, assess your needs, and honor them. Whether it's carving out time for a hobby, ensuring you get enough sleep, or saying no to commitments that drain you. Self-care is a practice of self-respect. So ask yourself, are you sacrificing your well-being in the name of productivity? Are you treating self-care as a non-essential, something you'll get to someday? If so, take a moment today to reflect and reset. Begin with small, intentional steps, a 10-minute walk, a moment of gratitude, or simply drinking enough water. These actions may seem trivial, but they are foundational to a life of balance and fulfillment. When you care for yourself, you equip yourself to care for others, and to navigate life's challenges with clarity and strength. Neglecting self-care may feel noble in the short term, but in the long run, it erodes your ability to thrive. Remember, you cannot pour from an empty cup. Choose to fill it wisely, and you will find the energy, peace, and presence to live a life of purpose and meaning. Resistance to change. Imagine a towering tree on the edge of a forest. It has stood for decades, its roots firmly entrenched in the soil, unyielding against the changing winds. One day, a violent storm arrives, uprooting the tree entirely, leaving it exposed and lifeless. Beside it, a young sapling bends with the wind, its flexibility allowing it to survive and thrive in the aftermath. This is the difference between resisting change and adapting to it. Let's explore a story closer to home. John, a seasoned professional working in the publishing industry, finds himself at a crossroads when his company decides to shift entirely to digital media. For years, John has excelled in traditional print publications, his expertise rooted in practices that are now considered outdated. When the company offers him training to adapt to digital formats, he refuses, clinging to the belief that the old ways are still relevant. "I've been successful this way for decades," he insists, rejecting the opportunity to evolve. Over time, John finds himself struggling to stay relevant, while younger colleagues who embraced the change thrive in their new roles. John's story reflects the deep resistance many of us feel when confronted with change. This resistance stems from fear of the unknown, fear of failure, and fear of losing what we've worked so hard to build. We often mistake this reluctance for stability, but as Stoic philosophy teaches us, true strength lies in flexibility and adaptability. The Stoics, particularly Marcus Aurelius, understood that the nature of life is flux and impermanence. Nothing remains static, and resisting this reality only leads to frustration and suffering. By aligning ourselves with the natural flow of life, we open ourselves to growth and new possibilities. Change is not an adversary. It is a teacher, challenging us to adapt and grow stronger. For John, the key to overcoming his resistance lay in shifting his perspective. Instead of viewing the digital shift as a threat, he began to see it as an opportunity to expand his skill set and remain competitive. He sought mentorship, embraced new tools, and started collaborating with younger colleagues who were eager to share their knowledge. Slowly but surely, John regained his footing, not by clinging to the past, but by stepping into the future with an open mind. What can we learn from this? Resistance to change often blinds us to the opportunities that lie on the other side of discomfort. We hold tightly to what is familiar, thinking it provides security, yet life continually reminds us that everything evolves. The Stoic principle of amor fati, or loving one's fate, encourages us to welcome change as an integral part of our journey. The next time you find yourself resisting a change, whether it's a career shift, a new relationship dynamic, or even adopting healthier habits, pause and reflect. Ask yourself, what am I truly afraid of? Is this resistance protecting me, or is it holding me back from growth? Overcoming resistance doesn't mean erasing fear, it means moving forward despite it. Like the sapling bending with the storm, we become resilient not by avoiding change, but by embracing it. Life's greatest transformations often come from stepping outside of our comfort zones and trusting the process. So, are you ready to let go of resistance and step into the possibilities that change can bring? The choice is yours. Gossiping and judging others. Imagine a banquet hall filled with laughter and the hum of conversation. At one table, a group leans in close, their whispers barely audible over the clinking glasses. They're dissecting someone else's life, sharing rumors and judgments as if they're passing around appetizers. The subjects of their gossip, however, are unaware, blissfully enjoying the evening elsewhere. What remains is a fleeting sense of superiority for the group, quickly followed by emptiness and a gnawing dissatisfaction. This is the hollow reality of gossip and judgment, momentary gratification that erodes trust, relationships, and even self-respect. Consider Sarah, a young professional in a fast-paced corporate environment. She often joins her co-workers during lunch breaks, where conversations quickly spiral into gossip about others in the office. At first, Sarah feels a sense of belonging, laughing, sharing opinions, and bonding over shared criticisms. But over time, she notices something unsettling. When she's not present, her own name begins to pop up in similar conversations. Trust becomes a fragile concept, and the camaraderie she once felt turns into paranoia. Sarah realizes that her participation in gossip doesn't just harm others. It's corroding her own peace of mind and the authenticity of her relationships. Gossiping and judging others may seem harmless or even entertaining in the moment, but their effects are far-reaching. For one, they cultivate negativity. The more we engage in these habits, the more we train our minds to focus on flaws and shortcomings, both in others and eventually in ourselves. This constant criticism creates a lens of judgment through which we view the world, making it harder to appreciate the good and connect meaningfully with others. Stoic philosophy offers a compelling antidote to this behavior. The Stoics emphasized self-awareness and self-control, teaching us to focus on our own actions and character rather than the failings of others. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It is not for me to judge another man's actions, but to consider if my own are just and kind. Gossip and judgment distract us from our own growth, pulling us into a cycle of comparison and projection instead of self-improvement. For Sarah, breaking free from the habit of gossip meant taking a step back to reflect on her values. She started redirecting conversations, steering discussions toward ideas and experiences rather than people. She also began practicing gratitude, making a conscious effort to notice and highlight positive qualities in her co-workers instead of their faults. These changes not only improved Sarah's relationships, but also brought her a newfound sense of inner peace and purpose. The first step to overcoming the habit of gossiping and judging is recognizing the urge when it arises. It's easy to get swept up in a group's dynamic, but pausing to question the value of such conversations can be transformative. Ask yourself, what is the purpose of what I'm about to say? Will it build trust or tear it down? Will it reflect my character positively or diminish it? Shifting our focus from others to ourselves doesn't mean ignoring the world around us. It means prioritizing self-awareness and growth. By choosing to cultivate kindness, empathy, and constructive communication, we not only free our minds from negativity, but also create a ripple effect of positivity in our relationships. Imagine a life where you're free from the weight of judgment and the toxicity of gossip. Instead of tearing others down, you're building a foundation of trust and mutual respect. That's the power of letting go of this habit. The next time you're tempted to indulge in gossip or judgment, pause and remember, your energy is better spent lifting yourself and others up. What kind of impact do you want to leave behind? As we close, take a moment to reflect on the journey we've just taken together. Each habit we've explored isn't just an obstacle, but an opportunity, a door waiting to be opened toward a freer, more peaceful mind. The wisdom of Stoicism reminds us that true freedom lies within, in the choices we make every day and the perspective we hold about life's challenges. By letting go of these habits, we're not only liberating ourselves, but also creating a ripple of positive change for those around us. If this video resonated with you, I encourage you to revisit it. Each time you watch, you may uncover new insights or deepen your understanding of these timeless principles. Growth is a journey, not a destination, and every small step matters. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Which habit are you ready to quit today? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's inspire and support one another on this path to inner freedom. Don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who might need these lessons, and subscribe to our channel for more transformative content. Together, let's live a life rooted in clarity, strength, and purpose. See you in the next video.